Okay, here we go.
I make a motion, we call the meeting to order. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Roll call, trustee Lambert,
Aye.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Coe,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay, this actually is a workshop session. We're holding it off-site at the Spiegel Center because we have another meeting here right after our budget workshop. Thanks to everybody who's been working on the budget. Takes a village. And we are really pulling it together. I think we really kind of have some pretty final numbers at this point, and it's really just everybody taking an opportunity together to really review, poke it apart a little bit if needed, and move forward. So with that being said, where do we want to start?
Well, I would say start with the multi-year.
So let's take a look at that.
Okay, so we've had a few changes since the last view.
Okay.
Jason and I met with trustee Wilkes and trustee Marshall. I missed the trustee Marshall meeting, sorry. But I think you guys had fun without me. We updated 26, 27 to change the phasing of
Sutherland? Okay.
to go phase 1 for underground work, mill and pave. I included in their previous bond numbers and the CHIPS funds we plan to do to cover that expense. I think that's what we talked about. 27, 28, you're going to see phase 2 in there, and is showing the mill and pave, the curbing, the ADA on Lincoln, and sidewalks. That's showing the $950,000 bond along with the funding from the bond.
So is that correct? The correct way to do it though? Because wouldn't it be a million less phase 1 equals phase 2? Or are you just showing the full phase?
I'm showing the full value of the bond.
Okay,
That still isn't,
because technically I would assume we would have some leftover money potentially.
possibly.
Right.
We won't know what we have left over until we
Until we
start
reveal
the
that.
budget planning for next year. The other issue, is the sidewalk grant.
Mhm.
If that's 750,000, we're gonna have to decide how we're gonna cover that note. And then get that paid back when we have the dormitory reimburse us, and that could take up to a year. We're working right now, so
When we do a ban,
we could do a short-term ban.
We talked about that a while back, I think,
Yeah.
actually, to do a ban.
And then if anybody,
Cover it.
that's a short-term note, just for anybody listening, that is usually taken out on a yearly basis, depending on need, and then you pay it back. So you could extend a ban, I think up to 6 years, they made it now.
Oh, really?
Six. Yeah,
That long now?
you can renew it every year, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's short-term. You really
It's
don't
like
want to.
swinging.
And with this kind of money going out, you're gonna have.
And those are interest only, right? You don't pay it monthly on that. You just pay it at the end with interest,
Correct.
right?
so
Or
this-
however.
so-
Or you can actually roll the whole thing and, but
Or you can roll it into a bond if you wanted to. So based on this with Sutherland, are we still going to issue the bond this year versus next? And how did I know there was conversation and you and I were probably gonna talk about it here.
Yeah. Do you
You wanna
want,
do that?
okay, so the idea was, given the fact that we can cover this with, existing money from previous bonds, chips. What's the point in having,
It's just an interest rate gambit, and why do it?
well, from what a interest rate game from the standpoint, is
As
there
in-
concern from rates going up or
Betting they
down?
go up or down, and if I had to place a bet, I'd probably say down, not up, but.
That rates in the future will go down.
Right, now,
Correct,
not everybody
exactly.
may
So
agree
there's
with
no-
that, but if I were to say the other comment is why take the bond out until you know you're gonna spend the money?
Exactly, so that was my
So
thought.
I think
was
we're in agreement.
Rates were going to potentially go down.
Yeah.
Now I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But, rates were gonna go down, and then again, you have no identified immediate need right now. You're effectively having to do arbitrage on some sort of CD or something to cut the spread.
You probably could actually make money on it, but
You might be.
we're not in the business of.
Exactly, I'm trying to
making
make a spread on
spread.
something.
Right,
So
okay,
that was the idea, was wait until we know it's gonna be a huge project that
Yeah.
will take almost the entire amount of principal.
Yep,
Do it.
good. So then on that note, the payment for the bond, we did at one point have it in this year's budget.
we do.
Did we pull it?
No, we
You
did
left
not.
it?
We talked about that and we decided to leave it.
Okay, so,
Part of what's in there
Yeah.
is also the truck bond. So
okay,
So it's in there and the discussion was if we don't put it out, use it next year, we would roll it into a reserve. Or
So how is it, what's the line item say in this year's budget for that?
if we go to our budget sheets for
Yeah.
general, and if you go to expenditures or appropriations, go to
Yeah.
the very second to last page.
Okay.
And you're gonna see, it's gonna say bonds, Sutherland.
Yep.
And it says bond trust, and it has interest broken out, it has both sets.
Okay, is it difficult to show that as just an infrastructure reserve?
No, that's actually, I had it in infrastructure reserve.
Yeah,
We
'cause
talked
now that
about
we don't have the bond payment.
So that's, right? I 100% agree, because it doesn't make any sense to have, we know the bond will come out next year, but to have a bond payment for a bond that doesn't exist, doesn't make sense. So it should be instead of reserve line item.
Correct, but
Like
we
that.
need to talk. If we just plan to put it into, go ahead and just start rolling into infrastructure. We were gonna talk to Turner about a debt reserve.
Yeah, but we don't have the debt specific, I would just,
I don't think you can issue a debt
We
reserve,
can't do a debt reserve.
and I think that came back, you couldn't do a
We
debt reserve.
cannot do a debt.
But we
reserve.
know what the bond's gonna be used for.
I
put it in
think,
the reserve.
But I don't think, okay, and I'm gonna say this, if you put that money into that reserve.
Yep.
This year, you could take it out next year to apply to the project.
yes,
Not the debt,
payments, that's correct, that's fine by
if
me,
that makes sense.
It doesn't really matter.
Yes.
that's fine by me. I
And
just,
we wouldn't get dinged for that, for taking a bond and just dumping it into a.
No. We're,
Talk through this again.
okay, if I'm understanding what
Understand this.
the two gentlemen would like. I'm gonna put it into a reserve.
Mhm.
We don't have that bond payment, so it's gonna sound terrible, it's free money. So we're gonna put it into, see, I told you, it's gonna sound terrible.
It's unallotted.
Thank you, I like that word, unallocated, there you go. We're gonna put it into the reserve, where actually we should start reserving, but next year, we're gonna budget to take from the same reserve. We can take a portion, we can take all of it and apply it to the Sutherland project. So what we're at
Specifically. Yeah.
specifically,
so it's-
so the bond,
Which is being funded by the new bond.
which is being funded by the new bond, but we can,
Think of it this way, because we were initially going to have a bond
Yeah.
this year.
Yep.
We would have had a bond payment
Mhm.
this year.
Mhm.
Because we're now pushing that
Yeah.
out a year, we don't have the bond payment anymore. But we know next year, we
It's
will,
coming.
we're gonna have the same expense.
Yeah.
We just pushed it out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're creating a reserve this year for what we know is going to be.
And it wouldn't be for debt.
no, it wouldn't be for debt,
That's
it's
the whole thing,
actually
'cause
going
that would
into
get
the
dinged.
reserve.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'm
Okay.
saying is, if we all agree to do that, the catalyst is you can't take from the reserve to pay the bond payments,
Right.
correct,
okay?
but we're so under.
But you could-
Reserves, then what does? it
Right.
matter?
You can either let it go into the reserve, let it build up, that's a good thing. Or
Yeah.
you can take it for another road trip, it gives you a little leeway in the reserve.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of planning ahead, which we should be doing. So, but after our last conversation, you had me put it back in the debt.
And we
So-
can't take out of reserves to front the money.
Right,
Or-
we could take it out
Grant.
next year. We could take a
For grant.
portion out.
When we need to front the money for grants, if
Yeah.
we have enough.
Yeah.
Right, if we were funding the sidewalks,
Well,
it could come out for
theoretically,
sidewalks. That could reduce the amount we need for the shorter term ban.
Yeah,
Right.
okay,
It
Just like-
gives us a little leeway for next year.
okay.
It's effectively just like what we're doing now with the South money, which is now gonna roll into this.
Correct.
We have
Yeah.
an election.
It's just gonna become the new capital project. We're rolling the Southwood money.
I mean, at the end of the day, this infrastructure reserve funding of 100,000 is inadequate for the persistency of our expense for infrastructure. So
Correct.
we should be up to probably 200 a year or 250 and just have it constant flow, right, based on the total costs that we have coming out over time. But we're not there. Meaning if we put 100,000 in and it's unallotted, not for reserve or not line item, I'm less comfortable raising taxes, but if I know it's going to reserve, something we absolutely need, I'm okay with putting it in the budget and having, it's gonna have to happen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
So
So
we'll move back to.
I'll move it.
Well, because we were thinking we were gonna
But I
bond
mean,
it
I don't know.
this year, we bonded this year, and then.
But, I that's why I said I kind of knew we weren't going to. But anyway, and the trucks, the bond for the trucks, we're doing the same thing. I'm showing the debt for the trucks. We don't know when the trucks are gonna be built out. So we might see the bond for next year for the trucks. But if we get the bond next year for the trucks, we might be just paying an interest only payment, which would help with reducing the debt impact of the next year. So I would leave the money in the bond payment for the trucks. And then we can make a decision if it goes on too long, then we can move that to reserve if that's our choice as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So. And I think that's all the changes we have made.
What are they doing, clogging upstairs?
It feels like.
Always, always. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so then I think you and Jason, I think can cover the changes you made to the multi-year. Like my cats. Heavy duty.
Fine.
What are we looking at, the road?
I think it's, okay, if you'd like me to help, it's 29, it's in the year 2029, 2030.
Okay.
The mill and pay for Church Street went up to 100,000, so it was a 35,000 increase.
And that was,
So
yeah,
the, let me get there, we're getting there.
okay, yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay. So,
What page are you?
I'm looking at this.
That's fine, it's the same,
same, I'm just used to reading this one.
Yeah, I know, that's your,
Which year?
oh,
So church.
29, 30.
Went up. And the reason church went up is because the decision is on that one, we have curbing there. And if we want to replace curbing, that significantly increases the price of Church Street. It's again, it's a concrete curb that's in there, so it's not necessarily the best material. It doesn't look as compromised as say Sutherland's curbing. So, you know, could you just do a mill and pave? Sure, it knocks your price down to 35,000-40,000. If you're gonna go and tear all the curbing out, and redo your curbing, you know, you're paying a big chunk of money there, 100,000 is a gravel curb coming in, so.
What do you do in Korean?
Yeah, we should have grand curb, stone, well, they call it stone pumps. So that's where that price kind of came up.
okay,
Maple, you know, no curbing there, so it's the Locust, same thing. No, there's no curbing there.
So the difference of Church Street, which is now about $100,000,
Curb.
is the curbing, and how much more was curbing?
They have maybe split on here 50-50, but it's more like 35,000 to pay here, pave it, and probably look at another 65,000-70,000 curb.
And it's helpful too, we talked about Sutherland, the cost for phase two.
Right.
Vast majority is curb.
oh, yeah.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
half a million.
Half
huge.
the price of curb.
But they don't have curbing now, correct?
On Sutherland, there is curbing, it's concrete.
It's concrete.
It's very,
It's
you
compromised.
almost don't even see it. That's how bad. it
Place
is.
is high.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
don't
So
even-
that's desperate. We need to do
Right.
that.
And, you know, really with the stone curbing and, or the granite, whatever, it lasts so much longer.
Yeah.
It just take a beating, you know? So,
The Church Street is not as well traveled as our,
Right.
a small side street.
Right, most of the things that go into our road ratings is, you know, it's not like Sutherland.
Correct.
So it's not as busy, the road service is as compromised, it's not a cut through as much as Locust is actually more of a cut through than,
Totally.
you know,
At
Church Street,
Church, yeah.
so. But for Church Street, yeah. You know, we took a ride through their line of sight, the curbing doesn't look terrible, there's a couple spots where it's bad. And this would be a candidate where if you don't want the stone curbing, you can also recap, check, repair the content that's there. Aesthetically, it's still curbing and it has a good reveal on it, but again, it's not stone, it's not gonna last as long. They're very
Yeah.
short. hands.
what, can you tell, you know, because I know like the granite really lasts, and then for the concrete, I mean, I know it's stained chipped. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of like lifespan of that, or
I mean,
Yeah.
the stone obviously is significantly longer, it's double. So
It's, yeah,
concrete.
that's at least what I've always
If
heard.
if you say concrete lasts 30 years, you know.
Granite's like, wait, yeah. Yeah.
So does it save us anything to do it at the same time we're doing the stuff, the streets?
Yes.
Does it make a difference?
Yes, so
Significantly?
when you do the curbing, the way that it's done with stone is they actually have to cut away from the edge of the road,
Okay.
dig down, create a base for that curbing to set into.
Uh-huh.
They'll set it to actually concrete. So if we were to go in and pave the road, they're gonna have to go back in, saw cut everything,
Dig up the
dig
road
out, dig up the road, the edges of the road.
that you
again,
just paved.
And then you'll have these little pavement spots all the way down that have been repaved. So,
So the joint too,
yes, there's a joint,
there's gonna be a joint to the road
yes.
all the way down.
Okay,
So-
so that makes a
The
difference.
process is, if you're gonna go in there,
It's not gonna look clean and
Right.
well done.
fortunately, that's the, I wish I could just go and lay on top, no way. for those
No.
to stay secure. There are some that are done that way previously that we're finding,
Oh,
that have
wow.
come loose, that are just sitting sort of secured at the edges of the road. We're gonna go through and do some repairs on those, but that's the old style concrete curbings, the way they did,
Yeah.
like little bricks of set out.
And the good thing is, it is still 3 to 4 years away.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it'll take some more damage and we'll
Yeah.
fix it.
Exactly.
And the way we're running with our capital projects, you know, the hope is the bond funds, if we don't use all of them, we can roll them into the next road project. That's the way we're setting up these bonds, so, you know, maybe by time. We're still have bond funds in 2030, 2020.
Mhm.
We could use
Yeah.
them.
And I want to emphasize too, that this is the Sutherland project, again, this is the worst case scenario of,
Mhm.
we don't give them any assistance as far as trucking, flagging, you know, road protection, any of
Should we
that.
get the highest possible?
Right, highest
Over the
possible.
spectrum,
If the town says, hey, we can give you trucking on this whole project,
which they mentioned. so.
right, we can align with them and reduce the costs.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, so then now you carry over some of that bond money to the next project, so we can stretch this out over several programs in essence.
So can I ask you, why we put Church Street, 4 years and not, I don't know, 6 years? Is there a reason, is the street in trouble, way more trouble?
Yeah, so they're in an order of, as far as
Street need.
street need, Locust is first. Next after Sutherland to get
And
replaced.
that's based on the road rating, am I correct?
Ratings and also just visual,
Visual,
you know.
empirical evidence
inspections,
of
yeah,
what's going on.
exactly.
Okay.
So it would be Locust, then Church, then Maple. We obviously have King Place, which has been
A
addressed,
lot of,
but that's
a lot of,
volume that will need to be addressed at some point, but. You know, as our roads of deterioration, there will be some form. And then there's some surface streets, just seeing there's still an oil, some degradation.
So is Shane Place addressed anywhere in this?
No.
no.
So,
Well.
No, so-
Oh, that's right, I
So
take
this
it back,
year-
you're right,
Yeah,
you're right.
As a
Yeah. right here.
temporary solution to hold us
Yeah.
over, we will be milling it and doing some minimal milling. so
Yeah.
fill some
Stone and
potholes.
oil?
Stone and oil.
Okay. So then when will it show up again? And should we have it represented somewhere? Even if we,
Well. I guess the determination would be up to. You know, what the main goal is of Shade Place. Are we rehabilitating it? Are we changing the look of it? Are we changing the road design, sidewalks?
A few moving parts.
There's a lot of, you know,
If we were to say
things
right
that's
now,
coming in there.
indefinitely, there are no changes happening to Shade Place the next 50 years. Okay, that is the next road. That is the biggest project that we need to pay.
Mhm.
That's how priority is. But if we're looking at it saying, well, we have these grand plans, and we might try to change some things down there and become
Yeah,
something
the
different,
comp plan, yeah.
then it changes how we're gonna treat that, because I'm not gonna go in there and put $75,000 of paving in there, and then we're gonna rip it out in a year and a half, do a huge revitalization. So the thought is for now, the next 2 to 5 years or so, let's just put some stone and oil in, and we'll maintain it the best we can,
then we'll work on it.
and we'll work on, we'll have the big project, that
Okay.
grand thing.
Alright.
Do-
Yeah.
I know we had spoken about this, when they actually go out and take a look at Shane Place. The potential for it to be something different, or to be more extreme, or whatever
Sure.
the case may be. When's that kind of check going to happen?
That I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
so right
aware-
now, this is
I'm
best
aware
guess that we can
there's-
do.
There's tentative ideas out there.
Okay.
I'm aware that there's grant money that was available or awarded to us.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I just mean the road condition.
Oh,
Like,
road
they may
condition.
come there and be like, oh, actually, this needs more than
So,
stone and oil.
yes, so typically we work with the town and, Midland Stone and Oil. And, we usually talk and kind of go over our roads together, they'll make a visit, and say, hey, Jason, a few more things you might need to address before we come in here and lay down the stone. Wall. And we'll do that to the best of our abilities. I think it's an agreement that right now it does need a mill and pave. It's certainly needing of that. But beyond that, it needs more. It needs curbing addressed. It needs the catch basins addressed and everything else. So
And crosswalks.
crosswalks, everything. So if we were gonna say, we don't know what the plan is for the next 10 years, where there's no guarantee. I would be very comfortable and confident saying, I would like to see it at a bare minimum, 2 inch mill. Now that's, you're looking at maybe 80,000 over there. I just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
To just mill and pave. It's not rebuild it, not do anything, not fix curbing. It could just be a come in there with a milling machine, on a Thursday, mill it down, come back Friday and pave it.
You're gonna check and see the status of the road if the oil and stone is viable.
Do what? I'm sorry.
You're gonna check and see if they could
But
do
oil
it
and stone is
viable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's certainly doable. I just think that it's a very short term solution. And I mean,
Gets
very
us
short.
through a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years, because if the under structure of that road is already, you're starting to see a lot of the big
Okay.
cracks and heaves and movement there. That needs to be addressed on the base. But if we were to say another 10 years, we don't know what we're doing down here, I would say I would skip the stone and oil as a 2 to 5 year solution and go more to the 10 to 15 year solution and mill and pave it. And at least buy us a little bit more time and window of opportunity. So, it's 20,000 versus say 80-ish, and it could be less. If we get trucking done and we have the town come in and help us, that drops it down to, 40.
So this is an assumption that we're gonna really try to put together a good plan within the next 5 years,
Right.
not 10 years,
Right.
right?
That's, yeah.
Look at grant funding partnerships.
And yeah.
the only thing I can say to the board, because we just discussed it, instead of putting the infrastructure reserve, we could take that money and apply it to Shane. If
Yeah,
you wanted to
if
do
we
the
needed
oil and stone, not the oil and stone, you wanted to do the mill and pave
Yeah, there's already a reserve.
instead of putting that money
Mhm.
into the reserve, we could move it to road work and just knock that out. If that's,
Well, I
But-
guess
You mean get shown place done
for
this
long
year,
term.
this year versus.
You were saying this year?
Oh, for this
Yeah,
year.
Effectively,
Oh,
do
so
the
26,
mill and
27.
mill and pave.
because the chances, if they come back and say the oil and stone isn't viable.
Right.
The only thing we would be able to do is mill and pave.
Okay, so that's a plan B.
Right,
Yes, I'd say put in the infrastructure reserve, do more work. If it comes, that we will mill and pave this year, we
the
can
ability,
do an adjustment.
that's all I'm saying, you have the funds available to do that shift.
Sure.
All right.
The one other thing I think you brought up, you asked, the order in which some of these were done. If you pair, let's just say church, Maple and Locust, all within like a year period, or let's just say 2 years. We want to be cautious of the residents. We don't want to have Maple and Locust shut down at the same time, paving or a project event, or hypothetically say church and Locust. So those are two.
Sure.
So we wanted to stagger those.
Approximately,
Yeah. Another reason. Why it's
Yeah.
Shifts.
What else?
So having said that, that had the impact into, looking at the financial plan for general fund. And I would say we have some negatives now showing up as using fund balance to get through periods, but overall our fund balance percentage is still, I would say, within the acceptable limits. But
You're looking at this sheet here.
yeah.
Are we done with the,
So
long-term?
Well, this is the final part. So the only way to get rid of those negatives is increase taxes or increase the revenue source without knowing what those sources can be at this point. Because one's looking out to 29-30, the other one's looking at next year. We're projected to use 38,000 of fund balance. But that could change, because again. But our fund balance percentage is
What's that?
54 to
Here we are.
44.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not too devastating.
Yeah,
We're
but it's
still
about-
staying within our fund balance policy.
Yeah, yeah.
So what this is, just for everybody, it is projected implementation of the long-term capital plan, the impact on the tax roll, that's or essentially you're solving for, how are you gonna fund it?
Right.
And the only place to fund it in these sheets is essentially from reserve, not reserve, general,
Correct,
or with the tax increase.
correct.
based
You either
on
take from
current
fund or
needs,
whatever.
right? But, there's no applied reassessment, there's no, it's just straight taking the current numbers of sales tax, the current numbers for property tax and running them flat,
Mhm.
right? You don't.
Well,
increase
I
it.
think there is
There's a
increases.
small increase with inflation.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah, I can see that.
5%.
Yeah, so there is. Well. Yes, you don't have the assessed value on the sheet. You're increasing the property taxes because we're changing.
Yeah, the assessed value is on the other sheet.
Right. I don't know.
I'm looking at 5.5 from next year, 5 for 28, 29, 5% for 29, 30. But again, all that can change depending on assessments and different things.
But even if they do the assessment next year in the town, we don't see it for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another factor.
So just a general comment, I mean, this is basically showing a 50% increase for this year,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And we're still woefully underfunded, I think, the long-term capital plan. We've got what we've embedded right now, in the budget and these, plans is paying with a bond for Sutherland and for Southwood, and those were how long, bonds?
10 years.
10 years. So effectively, the question is that what is $2 million? When the next big total reconstructions come up, maybe not in the next 4 or 5 years, like the capital plan is suggesting, but maybe starting 7 to 10, right? We're gonna have some other big reconstructions. We're gonna have to bond it again on top of bonds that we already have.
I don't think so. Because if we do like the way that Sutherland's, at least the way that you've explained it, that's a 20-year mat or plus life.
Oh, easy.
Oh, easily.
Right.
I'm talking other roads.
Well, but just,
But
so,
that's the largest road we have except for
Yep.
Shane. In other words, this schedule, I think this road schedule's aggressive because we're
flooding
dealing,
so
we're
much.
really.
I like the road.
So by the time we get through the Maples and the Locusts, all the other little side streets we have, there's not the big project. The only one remaining is Shane.
So it's almost like if you can take Sutherland as an example, right? 20+ year life on that, 10-year bond.
Same thing with South.
So
Done.
if we pay it off in 10 years,
Mhm.
that bond's gone, no more debt service. Then you have 15 years again, 20 more years before you need to have another Sutherland repair. So that's 30 in all. You then have 20 years to rebuild a reserve without needing any bonds.
What I'm suggesting is though, all the other roads, I don't know what the schedule for their reconstruction may be, when that might come up, right? So my only concern is we've got about 2.5 million of infrastructure build out on the roads, right? Over the next, I think over the next 6, 7 years. And then on top of that, we have vehicles, right? And some of the vehicle costs, we've already bonded with trucks, right? And after we're done paying them off, we'll be able to keep them for how long?
Trucks are, as well, if we take care of them, just put out, so if they're, longer than 10 years.
Okay.
The value of that.
However, we do want to look at not running them out to the absolute end of their
Yeah,
life.
Right.
Some of them.
No residual value.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is, we look at the reserves today, and what's the total dollar amount of all money we have in reserves today? All,
With our latest interest, maybe 389,000.
okay. 389,000 is not enough in reserves. Given, right, it's just not. Next year's budget, even with a 15% increase, is funding how much into reserves?
Not much.
100,000.
Yeah.
That we talked about maybe using for Shone Place, Mill and Pave. Meaning, we have no contributions to reserves in this budget.
Exactly, but almost kind of like an IO bond or whatever. We're gonna have to take these initial years, and it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna back in the reserve funding, because again, on a percentage basis of like expensive roads, South and Wood.
Yep.
Sutherland and Shane are what would you say in terms of total expense of roads? 65, 70% of the expense of total roads that we would have if we were to fix all the roads, right? Those were the big
Yeah,
ones.
I mean,
Those are
Oh,
the
in
three
terms
big
of
ones.
dollar value.
Right, like-
Fence fee?
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Yeah.
Those are definitely the big ones. I don't know if it's 50,
Because the
60,
other
or
ones
whatever,
are
right? And the other ones
state
are used,
highways.
the other ones are used less. So
Just
it's a
less.
percentage, right? South and Sutherland are used a lot
Those
more
are,
with bigger
those are big
vehicles.
ones. Yep.
So they're gonna deteriorate faster.
Because then if you look at, if South is done, and again, that's a 25-year project, we wanted to go back to it.
Even longer, yeah, and
Even
also,
longer.
and even Wood Street,
These would
don't
be-
forget Wood Street, you know, the road beds are stable. In other words, Wood Street is now a real street. So
Sure.
to go back,
Yep.
quote, and redo it will never.
Right.
Never even be
You'll be
close.
million paving in the next however long. because
I just don't
So it's
know.
almost like if you amortize those lifetimes, our reserve amounts we would need go on a go for it basis are pretty up.
So let me,
To catch up.
let me try to feedback you what I think you're saying. The bond payments for the trucks, the bond payments for the roads that we just issued. When we don't have those payments,
That's when we catch up.
then that's enough to finance everything else.
That's when we'll have to be actually funding the reserves and it actually won't be as
Or let's
much.
look at it this way, so now we make all the payments and now we, you know, do we fund everything out of the reserves? We may not need a $950,000 bond, we may need, you know, a band, we may need, you know, in other words, I think. The sort of the model changes
Because we won't have
over
a debt
time.
service. That, instead of the debt service payments every year, that amount instead goes to reserve.
So the question that I have is, in that model, it may be that you end up bonding everything versus reserving it and saving. Right? What I would say is, I don't think this is the year, given what I see, to jack up rates more in order to fund reserves, right? It feels like with what we're taking on, we're probably at the cap of where I can feel comfortable rationalizing. Okay?
Sure.
But as I look forward and as I look forward to assessments, right, potentially, eventually, or I look forward, one of the things we see when we get a budget is the vast majority of increase, right, that we've had over the years has more to do with staff, labor, HR, than it tends to with the infrastructure and the DPW costs, things like that. So I just want to be very thoughtful to the fact that we're not funding reserves. I don't think 380 or 280,000 is enough. I'd like to see at least $1 million plus in reserves, but we're not going to get there next year.
Definitely.
And so whether or not, I agree or not, it doesn't really matter. I think we've done as much as we probably can with
The
this.
goal is to build towards it, and I think we've always known that.
Yep.
We knew where we were, even putting together this capital plan,
Mhm.
you know, we're playing catch up,
Sure.
period.
And these are big expense items, which I can understand why we aren't funding reserves, but we're gonna have the debt for a while, which means we may not be funding reserves for a while. And I would like to get back to it, but let's revisit it
To
next
quote
year.
our treasurer, it is the good debt. We're finally reinvesting back into our community
Yeah.
and taking care of infrastructure
Sure.
that has not been taken care of for a long, long time. So, yeah, I get where you're going with the reserves, and yeah, the ideal would be to have the $1 million and work towards that 100%. This is where we are right now.
Yep.
You know?
So let me just really simplify this. So we're asking for a 15% tax increase on this budget.
Yep.
Is that correct?
With this
That's
budget,
correct.
that's
Okay.
what the treasurer came up,
So
you know.
when a resident comes to us and says, why do we have a 15% tax increase? We're gonna talk about the fact that it's not to fund reserves, right? It's more for infrastructure and for equipment. Okay, so is there a way to soften this 15% by spreading out our streets plan? To instead of 5 years, to do it 7 or 8?
They are
No.
spread.
Those
Okay.
are spread.
This is the spread.
The only way you can spread it is to get rid of the 100,000 that we were gonna allocate to reserves or to a shown place, fill and pave. And get that out of the budget. That will reduce this by 10%.
And then you'll have.
And then you'll
no
have
reserve.
15% next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Next
I
year,
wanna
have
point out-
10%.
We're sort of in a wash, rinse,
Right.
repeat.
So the only thing
Doing
though,
this.
is we're talking about property tax reassessment, which you know is gonna be coming. We don't know if it's next year, we don't know, but it's coming in the next, I would say 4 years. So that could be represented here to maybe, you know,
Can't.
No, because
Which
we have no
You
idea
don't know
the
what it'll
impact.
be.
I can
we
tell
don't know what it'll
you,
be, but it's gonna be
I
up.
don't know what it
It's
was.
Percentage. So like, I don't.
Yeah.
No control over that.
Right, we have no
The
control.
budget has to reflect the here and now
Okay,
of where we are and the capital plan of where we'd like to go in the future. otherwise you're not being transparent about your budget. We say, hey, we think an assessment's coming and we think we don't know. We can't do it. I hear where you're going with
Yeah.
it. We all.
Trying to answer, this is a
Well,
question.
what can happen if there is an assessment and all these numbers change, then you can say, well, we're
Got this,
gonna
that's what
lower
tax.
taxes.
Right.
We're gonna,
Okay.
in other words,
Yeah.
but
On
we
the back
don't
end of
know
the
that.
tax.
And I would never want to promise that to
Sure, sure.
anybody.
All right, let me ask you another simple question. So average tax increase we've had since 2021, 22 was 6%. So now we're over doubling. So did we not raise
Is that-
taxes enough?
Is
last
that an
year?
average of 2 years? What is this? Is that very common?
It's their calculation.
I
Yeah,
don't know what this is.
Now,
It's saying from 2021 through the present.
to present, that's what I said. So the
Yeah,
last,
it's
right, the
it's-
last 5
it's
years.
pretty close.
Last 5 years, average has been 6%. So now we're over double. So how do we answer that?
to your point, okay,
Almost
Uh,
every
you
village
could-
is doing this.
you could take that 100
Over
grand
double?
and spread it out, right? You could just show 50 if you wanted to, but then you're gonna have to get up to 100 next year. So if you show 50 this year, it's 8%, then you're gonna have to show another 8%. Eventually, actually, you'd have to probably show 12 plus. So the challenge, I think, is because we're underfunded in reserves, I would rather just show it this year because we know we're gonna need it, put it in reserves. We're not wasting any money, right?
And there's empirical evidence where it's going.
Yeah, you can see.
This is not going to a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna see, these are tangible things.
Yeah.
The road, we're gonna fix.
Yeah, it's the good data about investing into our community.
Okay,
And the fact that if the projects had been done, we kept up with it, it would be different, But there's also another factor too, and that's healthcare costs,
That's what I was gonna
right,
say.
staff
That,
costs
like,
have been
It's
super
not,
high.
it's not just the one thing,
Right.
it's multifactorial.
Sure.
And I think that's something everybody's gonna understand.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Two big
plus
trucks.
2 trucks, you're right, so there you go.
so let me ask you another question again, because we've got some residents that have actually already made this statement. In this long-term capital plan of 5 to 6 years, we talk all about roads, we talk all about equipment. We haven't talked at all about pedestrian friendliness of sidewalks and our striping and all these great grand plans of cap traffic calming for pedestrians. And this doesn't look like we're really pushing pedestrian friendly
I'm
village
gonna stop you right there.
infrastructure.
I think what you could do when you're hearing from all of these residents
Mhm.
is have them look at our active transportation plan and our comprehensive plan, both. They're online on our website, because when we say here, we're doing the roads,
Mhm.
we factor in what are in those other plans. Okay, for safety measures, we factor that in. And you can see the empirical evidence of that when NISTOC came through and did the bridge and the roads. It just happened, we didn't own it, they own it. They worked with our active transportation plan that was passed by previous boards and our comprehensive plan to implement those measures. So you wouldn't see that reflected that way in a budget. You would see it reflected in other plans on file in Albany. Okay, the active transportation plan, the comprehensive plan. This is the nuts and bolts of, we're doing this road, this is what we're doing. All the other stuff, like the striping of the lanes, you're not gonna see that way.
well, I was gonna say, and just not to toot my own horn, but to
Yeah.
toot my own horn, the repainting that you did in Shane Place
Yeah.
for the bikes, and all that, that's a cost that was in a budget.
It's a line item in a budget.
And then
You're not
also-
seeing it broken out.
Going forward, what we talked about, the speed sentries, right? So adding 2 new speed sentries, of which I volunteered, you could put it in front of my house, I don't care. Put that thing right
It's
in
a good
front.
place for
But
it.
to reduce
Right,
speed
to
down
reduce
to 35,
speeds,
yeah.
Exactly.
Doubling the number
Oh,
of sensors.
okay,
So
yeah.
instead of having 2, now we'll have 4. That is in this, I mean, it's not very expensive. It's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, something like that.
But it's an immediate impact.
But it's an immediate
It's an
impact.
immediate impact, and you don't see it at this level in the budget.
Sure.
Okay, it's in like a line item for DPW,
Correct, but I would also point out, it's when you look at the road project, when you looked
Mhm.
at South and Wood, you
Mhm.
guys did discuss.
Mhm.
Sidewalks and expanding.
Mhm.
So, okay.
It's part of the project itself.
And again,
It's all ADA
and
compliant.
the average resident, is not gonna get to the nuts and bolts of this, but
Mhm.
maybe when it's presented,
Yeah.
we can kind of talk about those things and just say them, because I think it's.
We
gonna be
usually
easier.
do in our budget presentations, every
Yeah.
year.
Good.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and they're on
Yeah.
tape online too.
A
for
little
people.
easier to swallow.
Also,
Yeah.
all, I think go back to what you were saying, Dave, this might be the year to do it, because again, everyone can look at their bills and say, man,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
My, you know, my
Everything's up,
utilities
right,
have gone up
right, right.
20%, my food bills have gone up 10%.
Yeah, yeah,
So
you're right,
if
you're
you
right.
point to it now and you're like, yeah,
That's-
we hear you.
That's life.
We have a
Yeah.
bunch of employees who
Yeah.
have health benefits and, you know, they're
That's
just doing
true.
their same
That's a good
thing.
point, Dave.
This
It's
isn't,
the time of the world, yeah.
it is what it
It's
is.
a different, I think that's the big thing,
Right.
on a DPW scale for the village, you know, we're actively gonna be out there trying to be as aggressive as we can as DPW staff to do our own repairs to sidewalks without having to bring in some contractors in.
Right.
And we will make those changes within the budget that we have to try to make some more positive changes to,
Yeah.
you know, public
Yeah.
safety and everything else. So
Yeah.
it will be seen that we're out there doing that. It's not like it's just gonna sit lull and, okay, we pay Sutherland and that's it, and they never see anything. So there's actively every year gonna be some changes to.
Yeah.
We might be able to do 100 feet of sidewalk a year on our own. You know, and make the, pair that with, if we go and do Church Street, let's say, you know what, let's make the sidewalks pair with Church Street, make that look all one package deal done.
And you know, when the weather warms up in spring, you do the assessment of
Right.
kind of, you know, they go through, this is
I just
ongoing.
want to end on two things with multi-year.
Mhm.
The one thing I do want the board to recognize, the fund balance for general fund is much, much better than it was in the past history. We've had a recovery in there. Remember, we were at one point where we were below the fund balance policy. And now we went from less than 15%, maybe 10, up to worse 50, 60%, 40%. That's really good. So you have had recoveries. You are making good sound
We're on the
judgments,
right
and we've
track.
had sound budgets where we're building that fund balance back up, because that fund balance was not carrying us. So that's a good note. Okay, so that is another place that the money is gone. And that is for emergencies and other things that happen to help fund the village.
And we have the highest rating from the state controller for fiscal strength in New York State. So
That's a
Same
huge
as the
recovery we had.
Great.
The other thing I want the board to understand, it's not 15% increase. It's a 15% increase, but we lost. Because when the reassessment came in, if you go to the levy sheet, I want you to understand, if I didn't raise taxes, we were collecting less taxes this year because the assessment went down. So we are already 16,000 to the negative, 18,000 to the negative before we even started budget.
So it looks like it was 0.91 in 2021,
Correct.
and now it's 0.57. So
yeah,
cut in
go
half.
figure.
Exactly.
Right, I know.
So it's-
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. That 0.57, I have a question. It goes back to the box that's highlighted is 25, 26. Are we actually on 26, 27?
Well, we're in 20, it's the estimate for 25, 26. That's what I was given.
Okay,
We're in 26, 27.
yep,
So if you look, we went from assessment 190, 190, you know, huge number to 188.
yep.
So we
So we
dropped.
don't, right, we don't have this year's utilization rate we have. last
It
year.
hasn't been
That's-
confirmed,
it
that's
hasn't been
last year,
determined.
right.
Right,
But it's
So we're-
something to work with.
it'll probably be lower.
It'll be lower.
Yeah.
So we were
Yeah.
already,
I
so
mean-
it's not, to even stay even, we were gonna have to raise taxes just to get to flat.
Yeah, even if we did nothing
Oh, yeah.
else, we still would have to raise. I mean,
Correct.
that's what's so incredible when you see that assessment.
So,
Well, then
okay.
also you see all the, even this year to date, the houses that have been sold
Sure.
have been enormous prices.
Crazy.
Do
So
we-
this is,
Do we need
We're
to,
not.
Dorothea, have a 2030, 31? So if this is
No.
our year.
this is their
need a
sheet.
Fourth one,
This is their sheet.
this is all they do now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
They say it's a 5-year plan, but it's 4-year with capital. I think they're
4 year
counting
with
the
last
current year.
included.
And then it's 6 years with the other,
Okay,
you know,
so this is a state.
this is a
Required.
state
Okay.
form and
Mhm.
Yeah.
I took this from the state. I wasn't reinventing the wheel.
Got it.
Real quick, I do want to touch on sewer fund before we close out. Sewer fund, as with anticipated, again, we're looking to take from fund balance to fund the account. And as you can see, this is, again, they have a very healthy fund balance still.
But we're using it.
We're using it,
Yeah.
but we're using less of it as we look at the 4 years down. I would love to see that go to where we're using none of it. And keep that at a healthy percentage, but I think we're getting there, and we're getting there all on our own.
Yeah, so we're
Sorry,
saying,
which line item were you looking?
I'm looking at the sewer fund financials.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look at the fund
okay.
balance, the percentage, the amount of use, the negative,
mhm.
if you look up in between.
here.
Yep. See how
Yeah,
it's reduced,
okay, it's reduced.
and that's what I wanted to see.
Yep.
Okay, so. Is there any other changes on the multi-year? Are we good with the multi-year? Can we call that done?
Good.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm
I
fine.
think, you know, yeah.
okay. So why don't we talk,
What's our time? Where are we?
we're 5:22. Okay.
Let's
Oh,
get
sorry.
moving.
Where was it? I might ask about the debt schedule.
Debt schedule?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a piece of paper.
Yeah. Okay,
That's,
okay, but that's,
yeah, I have. a
okay,
debt schedule.
I'll take a look at it.
All right, so let's look at general budget. So general budget right now is balanced with a 15% increase. So if the board decides they want to do anything different than the 15%, we have to decide what lines are being cut.
Well, we just had to bite the bullet.
I think
Yeah.
we pretty much did it. You know, I've gotten some numbers in, I've moved things around.
Have
You know.
Allocated, costs for personnel?
I haven't spread those out. I'll spread that out for the next meeting.
Okay.
The next meeting, and this,
Yeah.
so unless something surprising comes in that's gonna affect these lines, I'll spread out the lines for the labor, for all the funds. And then that would be the meeting you send it to public hearing.
One question I had, we've talked quite a bit about traffic. And is there time to add more time for another parking monitor at nighttime or a second shift or something where, you know, we heard a lot about enforcement lots and people aren't here when people are here.
As I said, he's here 20 hours.
I get that, but he's not here in the afternoons or evenings.
One thing with Mikey, we have had, he's willing, he'll come in on a weekend if we ask him, we can rotate his schedule. You're never gonna get full coverage unless you add more hours.
I'm not, well, that's what I'm saying.
So that's a board decision and that's a
Rather than
discussion.
having somebody sporadic, I'd like to have somebody where we could say we've got somebody 4 hours every afternoon, 5 days, something, you know, to.
What does he give us a day? I think he gives us 4 hours a day.
Yeah, we have 4 hours.
But again, we don't have anybody in the afternoons or evenings, you know, and I just thought now was that we've talked about it, but we're not backing it up.
If I could just speak to one quick thing, I think the concerns that were coming up were not so much evenings as daytime with lots where people are staying past the 2 hour limits. Because at night it all change, you know, it all changes business, you know,
So
so I think, yeah, you're right, you know, maybe daytime is really,
do we need more
We
people
pump it up.
during the day to really show that we're
or
serious?
could Mikey do more hours?
Okay, we could talk to Mikey about doing more hours. We'd have to increase that line. I'm okay with that. The only thing is, right now, Mikey has part-time status. If we take him
Yeah.
up to full-time, that's a whole different animal,
Maybe
which-
get another, like,
and which,
Part-time.
you know, we can look at doing that. But, and I don't know if that's something he would interest Mikey.
Yeah, I don't know, but what either.
Another aspect of this is DPW staff, self, foreman. And all of us technically have the ability, under my understanding, that we can also issue citations, tickets, things like that for parking.
Yeah.
We're out and about every day, and a lot of
Maybe they
times
support that.
we actually text or let Mikey know of situations that we're coming across. So
Good
we
thought.
have the ability. It takes less than 2 minutes.
I say let's circle back.
That's a
and
good
do that.
thought, Jason.
yeah, I'm
Let's
okay
do
with that.
that.
Just
I
wanna
love
show
that.
You guys are boots on
serious.
the ground everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way, Mikey can't be everywhere either.
Right.
You know, but you have more people.
Also,
So-
where are we with some of the changes that we wanted to do, right? Like the fine increases and like, it's almost like.
Jeff had to
Yeah.
recreate that, I think. that-
Yeah.
Jeff was looking
Yeah.
at that.
Okay,
He's
so it's
bringing
with
it
that,
back to the
Because I was
board.
gonna
Vote
say,
on.
before we make any major adjustments, we're gonna make sure we have whatever we're
I'm
enforcing.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
the
think
proper
we
tickets.
utilize these guys.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just want to show that.
Yeah,
we're
no, I like
serious
that idea.
about what we're talking about.
You're right there.
And
It takes
Steve
2 minutes,
also,
yeah.
Steve has the ability to write a ticket.
We could
Yeah, as well.
also, if we want to add to that, maybe talk to Mikey about additional 10 hours. I can probably fund another 10 hours. in
Let's
there
look at all of
and
it.
Maneuver some money around.
Let's just look at all of it, okay? And let's just see what that would
Thanks,
look
thanks, Jason, I like it.
Yeah, good one. You're there.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
I think it looks beautiful because I have a
It's a
0.
work of
Are
art.
you biased?
A little bit.
Well,
You know, I've gotten a lot of my estimates in. I've heard from a few people. Insurance did go down a little bit with workers' comp. I didn't take it down all the way because you never know with workers' comp what's gonna happen because we have the
Thank
end of
you.
the year assessment.
Yeah.
Dorothea, what's the 4% personnel services or personal services for village board?
It's a total increase of the 5%, the 4% tax, labor. We always increase the village board's salaries by 4%.
So that's just.
We apply it
Also, like,
universal.
Living.
Yeah. it's sort of
Inflation
like
thing.
living thing, yeah.
Lots of-
Everybody
Pretty
gets,
standard.
we do that standard.
I think we're kind of here.
Yeah.
Budget, parking. 6 grand.
Wait, which page are you on?
What?
I'm just looking at revenue.
Where?
Um,
Which one?
Wait.
And
Okay.
the parking
God,
lot brings
that
in
many sheets.
$6,000. And we, public safety on street parking, personnel services, that's not all money, right?
Mikey is parking fines. That's under fines and forfeitures. It's your
Yeah,
second
page
page.
2 of 19.
Yeah.
Like a little.
Yep.
If I have
A little bit.
No, I know that, that's how much he brings in, that's not his cost.
That's not his cost. His
What's his
cost
cost?
appears in general appropriations. He can be found,
Is that on page 519? The public safety on street parking,
yes, that would be
is
Mikey.
that just Mikey?
That's just
Yeah.
Mikey.
Okay, so let's say it another way. When we go through Mikey, we're paying in total for his services, 18, 19 grand net. We're bringing in some money, but we're not bringing in his cost. So if you guys can do it, it just reinforces that.
Well, yeah, that's always the thing. That was gonna be my
Yeah.
concern with what
Yeah,
John's saying is that what's the
Right.
net
Yeah.
benefit that we're
Right.
getting?
Not
Because
much.
technically,
Overtime,
well,
yeah, yeah.
it's sub 100%.
Other than maybe you're encouraging additional rotation of traffic.
It would have to be some tangible benefit to us in the community.
It's also a safety
going.
thing. It's always been, it's not a line you're looking to make money on. You're providing a safety
Or-
fence.
So basically, some of it is offset,
Yep.
not all of it. That's
Yeah.
right.
Not all of it.
How we're looking.
And we're seeing more and more offset, because of the new way we're collecting the fines.
That's true. We have really improved. that.
Because we changed it from going to the village hall to pay the fine, you go to the court, now the court sends it to the state, does the thing, and then we finally get the check back.
Yep.
Before it was a little more convoluted route.
I was.
That's less convoluted.
So
So-
we're
not
doing
against
we're doing better than we have.
David,
And if the judges are a little bit or
Well,
we're working
if
on
they've
it.
issued the ticket,
sensitive,
We're working
we
on it.
might actually pick up a little bit more of that. All right,
So I have, still
I
more questions.
still had a few here. So under page 1, the clerk 1410, the total amount allocated under that is 235,000. I'm not necessarily arguing anything that's on that page 1 that's listed there. What I'd like to see though, because of the flexibility inherent in the clerk, the ability to do transfers within any given section. I would personally, given the size that we're looking at, just from a general, general safety and security measure moving forward beyond your work with us here in the village, but looking down the road, it'd be my preference to break that up a little bit. Maybe have one chunk where it's software support, CPA financial support, insurance and payroll, and then the rest being more copies, newsletters, equipment, right? Just a little bit more division so that when we allocate the money, it's not so freely moved within those.
I think I see where you're going, but you can't do that.
Can't do that.
You can't do that.
Every single one of these has like a.
It's because it's the designation on the 0.4. There's 0.2s, there's 0.1s. 0.1 is labor, 0.2 is equipment, 0.4 is everything contractual.
Okay,
So when it's contractual, it all falls in the same line and I'm able to maneuver the money around.
Okay.
I can't move labor to contract.
Can you move anything within the 1410? The clerk 1410?
I can't move the personnel.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the personnel is for you?
That's the personnel services, 1410 first.
Right, so what is that? So do we have a 25% increase
That's a
there?
salary.
That's a
So that's the
salary, and
salary,
actually
that's the
that's
increase.
reflecting the maneuvering of Laura into full-time status.
Yes.
And then the treasurer, the removal of Francine?
That's removal.
Negative,
No,
okay.
no, it's, yes, Francine went to part-time,
Yeah,
and it's part of my salary, I'm in clerk, I'm in, so
Yeah,
we're spread.
okay.
Um,
and then how about records management?
records management, a portion of Laura's salary is in records
Records management?
management as well, plus Alexandria's salary is
She
in
has
there.
multi.
Got it.
Multi.
So
Got it.
we're
Okay.
spread across
Okay.
several funds, so
Okay, coming back to the clerk 1410 line, that big grouping of items, $245,000 expenses, you're saying some of those within it you can't
I
correct,
can't touch.
even though
I have
that's
to
not
go
the
to
exact
you.
authority. Okay,
I have to go to you.
okay.
I can't move a salary with, I can't
Right.
move money from salary unless I have a budget
Can you
transfer.
move money from software to support and CPA support to copies and rentals or newsletters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so going back to the idea of, if we wanted to, we could have that be a separate block of items if we wanted to restrict to a degree the ability to move within those items. They're all,
They're all point four.
Yeah, what's the- yeah, what's the
Yeah, I
point?
wanted
It's all
to
point four.
what the advantages do.
we have
Yes.
oversight requirements on the budget, and to a degree, we do a lot of transfers so that we kind of see what's going on over time. Transfers that happen behind the scenes that Dorothea does, we don't necessarily see. And so for me, at a dollar amount, there's a certain element where the automatic nature that she has, which I like,
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that there's some.
That's usually reflected in your report, right?
No,
No, not always.
no.
And it could be reflected in her report.
I could tell you I maneuvered some funds. I haven't included it because it's usually a couple hundred here,
Yes.
thousand.
That's right.
It's minor.
Correct, but
She
when I
always
see
comes-
two,
I mean, that's really kind of what it's.
When it's big,
You know, the
well, think
daliness
of that.
it all, I don't know.
almost 100,000 is in labor, so I'm not moving that much.
correct, but 150 grand out of the budget is 15% within a single block. And for me, again, just from an oversight standpoint, let's not deal with it this year, but just as we think into next year, there might be some benefit to having them blocked a little bit separate.
Blocking is not gonna help you.
No.
No, I'm just being honest, straight up, because of the way it falls with the comptroller with the numbers.
Yeah.
The way it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.4.
That's
It's
what you
for-
have the flexibility within,
Yeah.
not what I visually see.
Yeah. So if it's in the grouping 1410.4, which falls under clerk, I can maneuver anything in the 0.4s. I can,
Okay, so what we've done grants that, and you don't have the ability to separate a block out. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
And
Thank you.
but what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
With even what's broken out now, before she was treasurer was never broken out.
Right.
Okay, so you're really still seeing.
Oh, yeah.
As best as.
if you want
we
more
can do it.
descriptions in there of different
It should be
items, we
updated
can
in
do
her
that. I
reports
have no
about
problem
what
adding
she's-
lines.
Yep.
But then between those lines, as long as they fall in that 0.4 category, as long as the board passes the budget this way, I'm always gonna have that ability.
And actually, if there's an efficiency to that for her.
Oh, I don't disagree
For
with that.
us,
I just
that's
think
all.
there's a small amount of oversight that I was thinking about.
Understood. No, I get
Yeah.
that. too. Yeah, John.
Are any of the Westport fees reflected in our budget, or is it all run through Mark four?
That's all through Mark 4.
Okay.
They
So we're
pay
not
the
getting
inspector.
about
Yeah.
50,000 here.
No,
Going back to the clerk one,
yes.
I think we already talked about this, but what happened with supplies this year that we under budgeted so much?
Couple things
And
happened.
why did it go down?
Which one, David?
Supplies.
Oh,
Supplies,
Yeah.
Like,
supplies.
half?
So
No, that's soft.
A was,
No, above
No
that.
supplies.
It went from
supplies.
6,000 to 7,000 to 45,
Yeah, supplies,
and we've already eclipsed that.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
we did.
So,
Supplies was probably an area I cut back thinking we could reduce, when I'm trying to reduce things, the last
The
thing,
cost went
you
up.
know, let's not buy so many pencils, let's not, it's being smart, and then we've been good. But this year, we've had a lot of immediate expenses that came out of supplies. Some purchases from previous year budget hit, there's a couple of things, additional events, whatever. A lot of things come out of supplies.
So then my only question is, do we think that 5,400 will be enough?
Oh, yeah, I'm watching those pencils.
Okay.
I- But it's all, it's,
Stocked up on fence this year.
you know what, I'd rather underestimate that line and shift a little extra from another line to cover it than overfund
Simple.
any
It's kind
line.
of not a deal breaker line,
Yeah,
you know?
it's
It
not,
doesn't, it?
you know, and honestly,
Shifting sand.
they're very good with ordering the supplies. They usually,
Yeah, they are.
you know, if it's something big, they come talk to me first, you know, it's not a line I want to overfund anyway. I don't want to encourage spending there
No,
either.
and
20 minutes.
4 minutes. All right, let's touch sewer. Anything left in general? Everybody comfortable with the general lines? Okay. Did anybody want me to mess around with looking at more enforcement?
No,
I think we're
I'd say
gonna
we
be
try
able
to,
to-
let's see what happens to take it up.
Okay.
You're gonna deputize all the trustees, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it'll be a fine day.
Was there any questions related to sewer budget? Sewer is using a little bit of fund balance that was budgeted to happen with the multi-year plan either way. And as I said, that's looking to decrease as we go over time. And this is your first look at the refuse budget, and I'm gonna say that number's gonna change because we had some people that came off that shouldn't have been billed, so we're gonna fix that. So that number will come down just a hair.
And this is on still the initial contract.
Correct. We have one more year at that. Then we'll go back out to bid. That's why there's also attorney fees in there and everything, because we're gonna have to go out to bid in this year's budget. So we're gonna have to cover those timeframes.
I do want to. Oh, well, I just, I have no idea where stamps are right now, but it's postage. It's gonna be the same.
Postage is gonna be the same. I keep them the same, because, and I haven't, to be honest, I haven't allocated anything to the refuse district yet. I am going to be making some friction and trees because we have spent our labor dollars on there heavy this year. Far more than we budgeted. Plus, we'll recoup some of those costs back, so that'll reflect better on general for some of those things.
I have one question going back to, the general, which is we have $5,000 in there for, our roof.
Yep.
And we have only used 500 to 400 over the last like 2-3 years. We haven't used a lot of that. Is there any interest in either dropping that or maybe pushing more of it to invasive remediation in the arboretum? So shifting it over to the arboretum and to some degree for invasive.
The arborist wouldn't be doing invasive.
I know that, you know, I'm actually.
Paying money from. Okay, do you want to speak to that? Because I know we're really circling back on a lot of our street trees.
Yeah, so one of the
Yeah.
big issues we're gonna have is, we're finding now that the Norway maple. You're gonna get a red tree, okay, so we're, it's the species of the tree. They're-
So weak tree
So
is
you
an
want
invasive
money.
species.
To do some work with an arborist and you think that you're probably
Yeah.
gonna expend it next year, well, maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
So just, okay.
the evaluation that he's gonna need to do for us, because unfortunately, it's gonna have a significant effect on the overall look of the trees for the village and even like. A lot of the inside of Courtney is all right,
It's all normal.
and if you look at them all, they're rotting in the middle, so we need to have somebody come in and really spend some time. I know that he's pretty expensive, and he's
It's
up
the
there.
real deal.
So he could chew up in a 4-hour period,
Yeah.
probably 2,000.
Okay, one other quick question, just as regarding the arboretum, does anybody remember what the anticipated additional cost for invasive species remediation might be next year and year after?
Oh, boy.
Is $6,000 enough? Meaning the $100,000 that we set aside to go to reserves, we would pull that down to 90 or 80 or 15 into the arboretum specifically for invasive species remediation. Is
We're
that
gonna
a
need it.
I'm thinking it'd be nice to beat that up and start doing some work over there versus putting it into reserves. So don't change the bottom line numbers, just change what those dollars are.
Where it's going. So I want to speak to that. We can't just go in and remove invasives. Because invasives will come back.
That's right.
We have to have the other planned part of this program to put something that's native in place to
Yep.
stabilize that area
Yep.
that has been remediated. And that's a whole other, I mean, we can speak to it tonight also.
Yeah,
in our
right.
Community discussion, but the invasive species, or the invasive species remediation is really long-term. We're looking at 20 years.
But the funding Probably needs to be more than $6,000 a year.
Yeah, no, well, it's interesting because I think you only literally, you sort of don't bite off more than you can chew. You don't remediate more than you can manage. And so to do bit by bit, segment by segment, I think is a better approach. Believe it or not, 10 acres isn't that much land. In the big scheme of things for like major remediations. So to do a quadrant or a section and then go in and have plantings and proper,
Yeah.
reestablishment of natives, we're much better off than saying, you're gonna throw another, 20,000 and wipe them all out. We'll just get them back.
Do you want to put more than 6 though? Again,
I kind of based it off the estimate we signed
Yeah.
off of with Davy.
Yeah, because
Coming-
Davy did a fairly
So they're
narrow
coming back again.
well,
area.
how about we just leave it as is? You can always do a transfer
Good,
if
we
we
need
define
it.
a project. and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, you can maneuver it.
Yeah.
You can take from
All right, and we
contingency, you
also-
can take from whatever.
Okay.
We also are going to talk about another option potentially for too in the community discussion.
If you're arborist to get back on that too, I mean, this year we'll tell a lot. We'll be able to get a lot done, so moving forward, that can change, so this year could be kind of get an overall picture of what we did.
Yeah, not just going Maples, Bradley,
Right,
pear.
there's a whole number,
Three.
a whole list, so I really want to hit it hard, really get a game plan for our.
Are there resources residents can go to
Mhm.
in their own, like,
Mhm.
as they're looking at their trees in their backyard
Yes.
to make sure
On
that
our website.
it's up? Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to point somebody
Yeah.
somewhere and I realized that I sent them to David.
Give us a call.
Yeah, yeah. you
Okay.
can just call back.
Last call, any changes on anything, I'll make the minor changes with the refuse district.
I'm gonna go to sewer, right?
Everybody's good with sewer, everybody's good with everything the way it looks. So the 17th, really all the board's gonna do is make a decision to take this to public hearing.
Right.
That's our next budget meeting. That's our last planned budget meeting before public hearing.
This is basically the tentative budget.
This is basically the tentative budget.
That's the-
I'm not changing any, only numbers I'm changing is refuse district.
So you're saying that at our next budget meeting, the only thing will be setting the public hearing?
That's the
Which,
action that we need to take.
If you,
as a board.
now, you can not have that meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what,
I can bring that proposal and you can do it at your next board.
Oh, that's
yeah,
meeting.
why wouldn't we do it at the next
Right.
board? meeting?
Do that.
If everybody's,
You don't need another meeting?
Yeah, why?
I mean, if everybody's great,
I think we're
Yeah.
They
God
vote.
damn it.
So that meeting was
good.
the meeting was the 17th.
Let's move it to the 10th.
We can, yeah, we can do it on.
Yeah, you can do 10th.
Yeah.
We can
Do
do
it
it
next week.
on-
Yeah. So
We can make
next
the
week
next
we're
3
adopting-
changes.
Next week, we're adopting the tentative budget.
And that's St.
Public
Patrick's
hearing,
Day.
Setting the public
setting the
hearing.
public hearing.
Going to public hearing.
That's St. Patrick's Day, maybe.
Yeah, you get, so you guys can already have same thing.
Will be in the group.
I'll give you, I'll give you next week and next, whatever,
So that's
that's
the
next week,
17th.
Yeah.
the
So,
10th.
To the 10th.
We'll put,
oh, we'll do it on the
We're
10th.
gonna-
yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
adopt,
Get rid of the
Yeah.
17th.
we'll get rid of the 17th, you'll adopt the tentative budget on the 10th.
Mhm.
We'll send out the public hearings and then we're gonna be going into budget presentation, getting that
Yeah.
prepared. And I'm having Dave and Dave help me with that because really I think you two are the ones that need to talk about
What are we helping?
the budget
You can be part of our
presentation.
budget.
Remember we talked
Oh,
about
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay,
Typically Dorothy and I are the tag.
There you go.
Now it's a larger
You're
tag
gonna
team.
bring it all together. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
All
all
right.
right,
Past the thousands.
everybody's
I
good?
mean, like help with the PowerPoint?
Okay, yeah,
Everybody good? Everybody good?
I'll second.
budget's fine. All
Is
right,
there a motion?
In second,
I seconded his motion to adjourn.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Lindbeck,
sorry.
trustee Co,
Aye.
trustee Wilks,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I appreciate all these.
Okay, no, thank you. Good
So
work.
that like a record to even have.
We
meeting
paused.
cut?
Are we paused?
Dorothea, the